The stars above Earth had always felt out of reach, but tonight something changed. Humanity stood on the edge of a discovery that no other species had dared to make. Deep inside a hidden research station orbiting the moon, a group of human scientists gathered around a sleek, black warship. At its heart was their secret invention, the very first human-built FTL drive. The room was silent except for the hum of the engines. Dr. Marcus Hale, the lead scientist, whispered to his team, "If this works, humanity will never be the same." His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of history pressing down on him. Around him, young engineers, tired but determined, nodded in agreement. They all knew what this moment meant. They were about to break the laws of the galaxy. Even if they didn't know it yet, the countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The warship's engines roared, its hull glowing faintly as raw energy surged through the drive. 7, 6. The ship shuddered as if space itself resisted. 5, 4. The scientists stared at the monitors, hearts racing. 3, 2, 1. In a flash of blinding light, the warship vanished. Space bent, twisted, and tore. For a single second, the universe screamed, and then it was gone. The ship reappeared light years away, then returned in less than a breath. The impossible had happened. Humans had broken the barrier. Cheers filled the control room. Men and women hugged one another. Some cried, some laughed. "We did it!" shouted one of the engineers. Their voices carried joy, pride, and triumph. The world below had no idea, but history had just shifted. Humanity had stepped into a future no one could stop. But in the cold silence of the stars, something else stirred far beyond the moon. Hidden ships watched the experiment. They were not human. Their bodies glowed faintly in the dark, insect-like, their eyes cold and unblinking. They were the watchers of the Council, sent to monitor young species that grew too quickly, and what they saw filled them with fear. "Impossible," one whispered in a language of clicks and echoes. "The humans were never supposed to reach this level." "Not yet." Another leaned forward, its long fingers scraping against alien glass. "They didn't just build an FTL drive," it said. "They built something unstable, something that tears space itself apart." Alarms flickered in their vessel. Sensors showed the damage the human test had left behind. Space itself was scarred, a wound left open, rippling through the stars. If left unchecked, it could spread, destroy, consume. The alien commander gave the order. "Send word to the Council, summon them at once. Humanity has crossed the forbidden line." Back in the human station, the celebration continued. Dr. Hale stood apart from the crowd, staring at the readings on his monitor. He smiled, but behind his smile there was doubt. The data showed the drive was powerful, but also dangerous. The ship had survived, but the energy it released was more than anyone had predicted. He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining what would happen if hundreds of ships carried such drives. If the power could be weaponized, humanity would become unstoppable. But he also knew the truth. Uncontrolled, it could tear reality apart. Still, he whispered to himself, "This is our future. No one can take it away from us." Far across the galaxy, in the shining halls of the Great Council, the alarm bells rang. Massive alien leaders, some scaled, some winged, some nothing but light and shadow, gathered in haste. Word spread fast. Humans had created a forbidden engine, one that threatened not just themselves, but every star, every empire, every world. Some spoke in anger. They must be stopped at once. Destroy their ships, burn their labs, end their progress before it spreads. Others hesitated. But humans are young, reckless, yes, but their creativity is unmatched. Perhaps they could be allies. If guided. The hall shook with argument, voices echoing like thunder. The Council had faced dangerous species before, but never one so unpredictable. Meanwhile, Earth slept peacefully, unaware of the storm coming. The people below dreamed of progress, of reaching other stars, of meeting alien friends. They did not know that their first step into the galaxy had already made them feared. In orbit, the human warship floated, its crew still trembling from what they had just survived. Lieutenant Sarah Blake, standing on the bridge, whispered, "It felt like the universe tried to pull us apart, but we made it through." Her captain, James Arden, placed a hand on her shoulder. "And because of that, history will remember us." But even as he spoke, space behind them rippled, a faint scar left from their jump. It shimmered unnaturally. Like a wound that refused to close, the crew noticed but didn't understand. They thought it was only an after effect. They didn't know that hundreds of light years away, the Council had already decided. The first human step into faster-than-light travel was not just a discovery, it was a warning. Humanity had created something too powerful, too dangerous. The stars would never look at them the same way again. The celebrations continued through the night, but in the silence of deep space, shadows moved, fleets stirred, and whispers spread across the galaxy. Humanity had broken the barrier, but at what cost? The Council had been summoned, and the galaxy now waited for judgment. The Council chamber was older than memory, a structure built in the heart of a hollowed-out moon. It glowed with silver light, its walls alive with shifting patterns of stars. Here, the rulers of 1,000 species gathered whenever the galaxy trembled. Tonight, every seat was filled and the air was thick with fear. The alien envoys whispered among themselves. Their voices were a storm of languages, hissing, rumbling, clicking. Some spoke in tones that echoed like metal striking stone, others in soft pulses of light, but no matter the form. Every word carried the same meaning: humans. At the center of the chamber stood the speaker, an ancient being of crystalline form. His body flickered with colors as he raised his voice. "The humans have crossed the line," he declared. "They have built a drive that tears holes in the stars. Their ambition threatens all life. We must decide their fate." A chorus of voices rose at once. "The humans are reckless. They must be destroyed before they spread," shouted an envoy shaped like a great serpent, its scales glittering like molten gold. Another voice, softer but sharp, spoke. "We cannot destroy them without risk. They are clever, too clever. They might resist and spread their weapon further." This came from a pale, winged envoy whose feathers shimmered with frost. The hall roared with argument. Some demanded immediate action, fleets sent to burn Earth before the humans could build more of their ships. Others argued for patience, saying humanity could be guided, shaped, used. But even as the debate raged, there were others who said nothing. Hidden in the shadows of the chamber, envoys from secretive empires leaned close, whispering dark plans. They would not wait for the Council. They would act on their own. Far above the chamber, giant banners shifted. Each one bore the sigil of a great power, and one by one they shimmered as each empire cast its vote. Not for war, not yet, but for something worse. An urgent call to summon the human ambassador to answer before the galaxy. On Earth, the message arrived in silence. A beam of light carved through the night sky and struck the United Nations headquarters. Inside, generals and leaders froze as an alien messenger appeared in their hall. Its body was made of living fire. Its eyes burned like suns. Its voice was deep and heavy. "The Council summons you," it said. "You will answer for your invention." The room fell silent. No one dared speak. At last, a woman in a dark suit stepped forward. She was Ambassador Evelyn Cross, chosen for her sharp mind and unbreakable will. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. "Tell the Council we will come. Humanity will not hide." That night, the first human delegation prepared to leave Earth. They boarded a warship equipped with the dangerous FTL drive, the same drive that had terrified the galaxy as the engines roared. Evelyn looked back at Earth through the viewport, blue and fragile in the distance. She whispered to herself, "They fear us already. But we will show them who we are." Back in the Council chamber, the arguments continued long into the night. A reptilian warlord slammed his clawed hand against the table. "You are fools. The humans must be struck down before they reach our borders." His eyes glowed with hatred. "They will spread like fire and no wall will stop them." Across from him, a being made of shifting mist sighed. "And yet they are bold. They are unshaped stone, dangerous, yes, but perhaps they can be carved into allies. Perhaps they can be the weapon we need against threats yet to come." The chamber split into factions. One demanded extermination, the other demanded restraint. But both agreed on one thing. Humans were unlike any species they had ever faced. They were not cautious, not careful. They leapt where others hesitated. They risked where others calculated. Suddenly the chamber lights dimmed. A holoscreen lit up, showing the wound left in space by the human drive test. It pulsed and rippled like a scar that would never heal. Entire star systems could feel the echo of it. For a moment, silence filled the chamber, as if every envoy understood the truth. If humanity continued, the galaxy itself might tear apart. But silence did not last. One envoy broke it with a whisper. "And what if they learn to control it? What if they turn the scar into a weapon?" The words spread like fire. Fear mixed with awe. In the shadows, the secret faction of warlike empires made their choice. They would not wait for votes or debates. They would send their fleets now. They would strike Earth before the humans could even speak before the Council. Their ships began to move in silence, cloaked and hidden. Their orders clear: attack a human colony, provoke a war, force the Council to choose extermination. But none of this was known to Evelyn Cross as her warship tore through space toward the Council's moon. She stood tall, even as the walls shook from the unstable drive. Around her the crew whispered in awe and fear. "Will they listen to us? Will they destroy us?" she answered with steel in her voice. "We are human, we do not beg, we do not bow. We will face them." The chamber of the Council awaited her arrival, but already fleets were moving in the dark, and somewhere deep in the shadows, alien eyes gleamed with cold purpose. The galaxy had never feared a young species so much. The Council had been summoned, but what came next was no longer in their control. Humanity had already changed the stars, and soon, the stars would decide humanity's fate. The skies above Earth seemed calm, but the quiet was a lie. Beyond the edge of the solar system, alien ships drifted like shadows, cloaked and watchful. Humanity had built something the galaxy feared, and now every move of Earth was being measured, weighed, and judged. In the underground command center beneath the United Nations headquarters, generals, scientists, and leaders sat around a glowing table. The walls hummed with hidden machinery, their screens filled with strange signals. Dr. Marcus Hale pointed to a swirling disturbance on the monitor. "They are watching us," he said. "Every jump we make with the FTL drive sends a ripple through space, and they are tracking it." A nervous murmur spread through the room. The president leaned forward, her voice firm. "Let them watch if they fear us. Then they know we are no longer helpless, but fear cut both ways, out in the orbit of Mars." The first human-built warships floated, sleek steel giants, armed not only with missiles and plasma cannons but with the dangerous new FTL cores. Their crews trained day and night, knowing the Council might not come with peace. On board the warship Valiant, Captain James Arden walked the bridge. His crew sat silent, their eyes glued to the strange readings that appeared whenever they activated the drive. Lieutenant Sarah Blake whispered, "Every time we use it, the stars bend in ways they shouldn't. It feels like we're breaking something." Arden nodded but kept his face hard. "Maybe we are," he said. "But if breaking the stars is what it takes to keep Earth safe, then so be it." His words carried weight, but deep inside, he too felt the unease that every crew member carried. The drive was power, but power always came with a price. Meanwhile, in the streets of New York, rumors spread. The people had begun to notice strange lights in the night sky, streaks that vanished too quickly to be meteors. Families gathered on rooftops whispering about aliens, about war, about humanity's sudden rise. Pride filled many hearts, but so did dread. If the galaxy feared them, how long before it struck first across the ocean? In a hidden base under the Himalayas, engineers worked on a second generation of drives, faster, stronger, and even less stable. Some scientists begged the generals to slow down, to test more, to study, but the generals refused. "If war is coming," they said, "then we must be ready." And yet, while humanity prepared for conflict, something darker brewed in the stars. In the silent void near Saturn's rings, alien scout ships moved like shadows. Their cloaks shimmered, barely visible. Their orders were simple: watch, learn, and wait for the signal. They had already chosen their target, a small human colony on Titan. It was far from Earth, vulnerable and perfect for a strike that would never be forgotten. Back on Earth, Evelyn Cross prepared for her journey to the Council. She walked through the hangar of the warship Odyssey, her footsteps echoing against steel floors. Soldiers and crew saluted as she passed. Their eyes held both respect and worry. She paused, turning to them. "The galaxy fears us," she said, her voice sharp and steady. "But we will not go to them as criminals. We will go as equals. They must see humanity not as a mistake, but as a force." Her words stirred the crew, but even she knew the risk. She carried not only her own life but the weight of Earth's future. If the Council chose to condemn humanity, her voice might be the last they heard before war, far across the galaxy. In a dark chamber unknown even to most of the Council, a secret conclave of alien warlords gathered. They spoke in whispers, plotting the strike that would ignite the flames. "The Council debates while humans build," hissed one with eyes like burning coals. "If we wait, they will only grow stronger," another, cloaked in shifting shadows, replied. "Then we will strike in silence, and by the time the Council learns, the humans will already be bleeding," they all agreed. Their fleet moved that very night, engines whispering death into the void. But the humans were not as blind as the warlords believed. In the observatory hidden in the deserts of Nevada, scientists tracked the movement of alien signals. A young technician gasped as he read the data. "They're not just watching us," he said. "They're moving closer. They're preparing for something." His words spread quickly through the chain of command. Within hours, the warships Valiant, Defiance, and Odyssey were put on high alert. Crews rushed to stations. Alarms echoed through metal corridors. The soldiers strapped themselves into their seats, hearts pounding with a mix of fear and pride. Captain Arden stood before his crew, his face lit by the glow of stars outside the viewport. "Listen to me," he said. "We are the first humans to carry this power into the void. They will come for us, and when they do, they will learn that we do not bow, we do not run. We fight." The crew erupted in cheers, fists striking against steel. Their voices carried through the ship like thunder. But beneath the cheers lay a heavy truth. Humanity was no longer hidden, no longer ignored. The galaxy had seen their power, and now the galaxy was moving. Evelyn Cross sat in her quarters aboard the Odyssey, staring out at the endless dark somewhere out there. Fleets gathered, councils argued, and enemies plotted, she whispered to herself. "We wanted the stars, and now the stars have turned against us." She closed her eyes. Steadying her breath, she knew tomorrow would decide everything: peace, alliance, or war. And in the silence beyond Saturn, cloaked ships waited for the signal to strike. Their weapons glowed faintly, their captains eager. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy, but the galaxy was already sharpening its claws. In the cold heart of the galaxy, far from the eyes of the public, secret voices whispered in shadowed halls. The council chamber still echoed with endless debate, but outside its polished walls something darker stirred. Not every empire trusted the vote. Not every leader believed in waiting. Some had already made their choice. Inside a hidden war room carved into the ruins of a dying star, alien commanders gathered around a massive holographic map. Stars glowed in the air above them, connected by shifting lines of red. The focus of their meeting was clear. A small blue world at the edge of the galaxy. Earth, the warlord Karzul, his body covered in black scales that shimmered with fire, slammed his clawed hand against the table. "The humans are a threat. I saw their drive tear a hole through the stars. That scar will not heal." And yet the council talks of patience. His voice shook with rage. "We cannot allow them to spread." Opposite him, a sleek insectoid leader clicked its mandibles. "The council will never agree to destruction. Not openly, they fear appearing weak, but if we strike now in silence, they will have no choice but to condemn humanity. They will join us once the war begins." The plan was simple. A secret fleet would move against one of humanity's colonies. They would make it look like an accident, a border conflict. Then, when humans retaliated, as everyone knew they would, the council would see them as aggressors. And once the first shot was fired, there would be no turning back. Meanwhile, deep within the council chamber itself, the open debate dragged on. 1,000 voices clashed. Each empire had its fears, its memories, its scars from history. Some remembered species that rose too fast and burned too bright, leaving galaxies in ruin. Others saw in humans something they secretly admired: the courage to leap without hesitation. The speaker raised his crystalline hand, silencing the hall. "We cannot ignore the humans, nor can we condemn them without trial. They must be heard." The words were final. The human ambassador would arrive soon, and she would stand before them all. But even as those words rang through the chamber, envoys exchanged hidden glances. Not all intended to wait. Not all believed in words. On Earth, Evelyn Cross walked the halls of the warship Odyssey. Preparing her speech, she was calm on the outside, but her heart pounded like a drum. She knew the council was divided. She knew enemies already plotted against her people, and yet she felt no fear, only fire. Humanity had always faced the impossible, and they had never bowed in orbit around Mars. The warship Valiant ran its final drills. Captain Arden watched his crew train with grim determination. They practiced FTL jumps, weapons fire, and boarding maneuvers. Every time the drive engaged, the stars bent and screamed. Every time they returned, the crew grew a little more unsettled. Lieutenant Blake approached her captain. "Sir, the more we use the drive, the more unstable the readings become. If this continues, we may be tearing the universe apart without realizing it." Arden's jaw tightened. "Maybe we are," he admitted. "But right now the universe wants us dead. Better we break it than let them break us." His words were harsh. But his crew nodded. They all understood far beyond them. In the black void near Saturn, the Shadow Fleet moved. Dozens of alien warships drifted silently, their cloaks bending light around them. Their captains whispered in alien tongues. Preparing for the strike, the chosen target was Titan, humanity's fragile colony resting under domes of glass and steel, a symbol of human expansion, a spark of hope, and soon, it would burn on Titan itself. Colonists lived unaware. Children played under artificial skies, workers mined beneath the ice, and families dreamed of building a new world. They had no idea that in the darkness above, weapons already pointed at them, back in the council chamber, a small group of envoys slipped away from the main floor. They gathered in a private chamber, hidden from the speaker's gaze. One of them, a tall figure of living smoke, spoke first. "The humans will not stop. They cannot stop if the council hesitates. We must act." Another leaned forward, eyes glowing red. "The fleet is already moving," it said. "By the time the human ambassador speaks, her colony will already be ash. She will be too late." The others nodded, their silence a dark agreement. The plan was in motion on board the Odyssey. Evelyn looked at the stars and whispered, "They fear us already. But fear can turn to respect or it can turn to hate. Which path will they choose?" She did not know that far from her ship. The choice had already been made. The Shadow Fleet powered its weapons, silent lightning rippling across their hulls. The alien commanders exchanged grim nods. The order was simple: strike fast, strike hard, leave nothing standing. Humanity would learn its place, but as the fleet moved, sensors from the Valiant caught a flicker, a ripple in the dark. Alarms rang. Officers shouted across the bridge, "Unknown signals detected." Cloaked ships moving in Titan's orbit. Captain Arden's eyes went cold. "So they've made their choice," he said. He turned to his crew. "Then we make ours. Ready weapons, prepare the drive. We will not let them strike first." The bridge filled with the roar of engines and the fire of determination. The humans had been marked for destruction, but they would not go quietly. Not now, not ever in the council chamber. As the speaker prepared to announce humanity's arrival, the first sparks of war already ignited in the black. The council thought they held the choice of peace or conflict, but the truth was far darker. The choice had been stolen from them. The Shadow Fleet was moving, and the war for humanity's survival had already begun. The chamber of the Galactic Council blazed with light. Thousands of envoys filled the great circle, their voices a storm that shook the air. At the center stood the crystalline speaker, his body glowing with restrained power. "Summon the human," he declared, and the command echoed across the hall like thunder. The great doors opened with a deep groan, and Evelyn Cross entered. She walked slowly, every step heavy with meaning. Behind her came two soldiers in dark uniforms, their boots striking against the polished floor. 1,000 alien eyes turned toward her, some filled with hatred, others with curiosity. The hall had seen countless ambassadors, but never one like her. Evelyn raised her chin, her voice steady even as her heart raced. "I stand before you not as a servant, and not as an enemy," she said. "I stand as a human. We came to the stars seeking hope, not conquest. We ask only for the chance to grow." Murmurs swept the chamber, some envoys scoffed. Others leaned forward with interest for a moment. The debate that had raged for days fell silent. Humanity's voice had finally spoken, but silence did not last. A massive warlord covered in black scales rose to his full height. Towering above all, his eyes burned red as he snarled. "You speak of hope, yet your ships tear the fabric of the galaxy itself. Your drive leaves scars that spread across the stars. You are not builders, you are destroyers." Evelyn did not flinch. "We are explorers," she answered. "We test, we push, yes, but we learn. If our invention is dangerous, we will master it. Would you have us crawl back into the dark because you are afraid of what we may become?" Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some envoys whispered approval. Others hissed with fury. The speaker lifted his hand to restore order, but before he could, the hall shook. An envoy rushed forward, his voice shrill. "News from the outer systems," he cried. "A human colony has been attacked. Titan burns." Chaos exploded. The council chamber erupted into shouts. Wings flared. Claws slammed against stone. Evelyn froze, her heart pounding. "Titan," she whispered. Images flickered across the hollow screens. Flames rising from the glass domes of Titan. Ships breaking apart in the void. Colonists running as fire consumed their world. The warlord's voice roared above the chaos. "There is your proof. Even as you speak of peace, your kind wages war. His words twisted the truth, feeding the fury of the chamber. Evelyn's voice cut through the storm, sharp and defiant. "Lies," she shouted. "We did not strike first, you know it. Someone wants this war, someone in this chamber." Her eyes swept the room, and for a brief instant, she saw the flicker of guilt in certain envoys' faces. Those who had already planned the ambush now sat in silence. The speaker struck the floor with his staff, sending a wave of energy across the chamber. The shouting died, though anger still boiled in the air. His crystalline body flickered with deep crimson light, a color of warning. "This council will not descend into madness," he said, "but the truth must be known. The attack cannot be ignored." Meanwhile, far from the council, Captain Arden's warship Valiant emerged from the jump near Titan. Flames and wreckage filled the void. The colony domes shattered, their glass shells collapsing under alien fire. Human ships struggled to defend, but they were outnumbered. Arden's voice thundered across the bridge. "Target the attackers, fire everything we have." The Valiant's cannons roared, bright lances of light tearing through cloaked vessels. Explosions lit the black sky. The crew cheered as the first alien warship shattered into pieces. But the Shadow Fleet was vast. Missiles rained down. Plasma beams carved across Titan's surface. Colonists screamed as the ground shook. The humans fought back with ferocity, but every moment pushed them closer to defeat. Lieutenant Blake gritted her teeth. "Captain, if we engage the drive, we can flank them. But the readings, there's no telling what it will do." Arden's eyes blazed. "If we don't, Titan is gone. Do it." The Valiant's engines screamed. The unstable FTL core ignited, space bent, and in a blink, the warship disappeared, only to reappear in the middle of the enemy fleet. The sudden maneuver ripped 3 alien ships apart instantly. Shockwaves scattered the rest. The bridge shook violently, sparks raining down, but the crew roared in triumph. Humanity had struck back for the first time. The predators became prey. Back in the council chamber, the images of the battle streamed across the screens. The envoys watched in silence as the human warship fought like a cornered beast, striking with impossible speed. Impossible daring, whispers filled the hall. They fight like no other species. Their technology bends reality. If they master it, none of us will be safe. Fear mixed with awe, Evelyn stood taller, her voice sharp as a blade. "You see now? It was not us who brought war, but we will not fall. Attack us again, and you will learn that humans do not kneel." Not to anyone. The chamber shook with divided voices. Some demanded her execution. Others whispered of alliance. The council stood at the edge of decision, but the truth was clear. Whether ally or enemy, the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. And as Titan burned and the Valiant fought against overwhelming odds, one thing became certain. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. The stars themselves had heard their defiance, and the war for survival had begun. The skies above Titan were fire. The once bright colony domes lay shattered, their glass and steel scattered across the ice like broken bones. Smoke rose into the blackness of space, lit by the glow of burning wreckage. Families huddled in the ruins, their voices lost beneath the roar of distant cannons. The attack had come with no warning, no mercy. From the darkness of space, the Shadow Fleet pressed its assault. Dozens of alien warships fired in cold silence, beams of energy slicing through the colony's defenses. For every human ship that fell, 2 more seemed to rise from Earth's side. Small but burning with desperation, humanity had been marked for destruction. But they refused to die quietly. At the heart of the chaos, the Valiant moved like a ghost. Its engines howled, bending the stars. In one heartbeat it vanished. In the next it reappeared inside the enemy formation. Its cannons spat light, ripping ships apart before they could react. Sparks flew across its bridge, alarm screamed, but Captain Arden stood firm, his eyes locked on the burning battlefield. "Push the drive again," he ordered. Lieutenant Blake's hands shook as she fought to stabilize the unstable core. "Captain, another jump like that could tear us apart," she warned. Arden's voice was steel. "Better us than Titan, do it." The drive ignited, a scream of energy that twisted space. The Valiant vanished, ripping through the void. It reappeared behind an alien dreadnought, its cannons opening fire at point-blank range. The massive ship shuddered, cracked, and exploded in a storm of burning fragments. The crew of the Valiant cheered, but their victory was brief. Dozens of new enemy ships moved to surround them. Back on Titan's surface, colonists armed themselves with whatever they could find. Some fired rifles from the ruins. Others shielded children as the ground quaked. A young girl stared upward through a shattered dome. Watching the burning trails of ships across the sky, her father whispered, "Hold on, the fleet is still fighting." But even he could not hide the fear in his voice. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the council chamber was filled with silence. Every envoy stared at the live feed of Titan's destruction. The crystal speaker's body glowed a deep red as the images played. Human warships battling with impossible speed, colonies burning, civilians screaming. The serpent warlord rose, his voice filled with venom. "You see the truth? The human's invention is not only dangerous to the galaxy, it is dangerous to themselves. They tear reality apart and call it progress. They are a threat, and now they are at war with us all." But others in the chamber hesitated. A winged envoy spoke, her feathers trembling. "No, look again. They were not the aggressors, their colony was attacked. And still they fight without surrender. Their courage is undeniable. Is this the mark of monsters? Or the mark of allies we desperately need?" The chamber erupted in shouts, divided, furious, but uncertain. Evelyn Cross stood at the center, her eyes blazing. She raised her voice over the storm. "Do not be blind, you know this was no accident. You know there are factions among you who fear us so much they will burn children in their beds just to spark a war. Humanity did not start this fight, but we will finish it if forced." Her words sent ripples through the chamber. Some envoys looked away in shame. Others clenched their fists in rage. The truth was dangerous, more dangerous than the drive itself. On Titan, the truth was written in blood and fire. The Defiance, another human warship, arrived in the battle. Its captain, Commander Yara Lin, shouted across the comms, "Valiant, we've got your flank." The two ships moved as one, their drives ripping holes through the enemy's formation. The battlefield was chaos. Alien ships scattering as humans struck with impossible daring. For the first time, the Shadow Fleet faltered. They had expected fear, retreat, collapse, but instead they found resistance sharper than steel. Humanity fought like predators, reckless and cunning, striking where no sane captain would dare. On the bridge of the Valiant, Blake gasped as readings lit up her screen. "Captain, they're pulling back." Arden's fists clenched. "Then we chase them. Make sure they know we are not prey." The Valiant and Defiance tore through the stars, their unstable drives leaving scars of light behind them. Each strike left another alien wreck burning. But the humans paid in blood, crewmen fell, systems failed. The very engines that gave them victory threatened to consume them. Still they pressed on. Humanity's defiance burned brighter than fear. Back in the council chamber, the speaker finally raised his hand. The hall fell silent. His voice rang like crystal breaking. "Enough. The humans stand on the edge of destruction, yet they do not fall. This council must decide, will we push them into the fire or pull them back from it?" But the decision was not so simple. In the shadows, those who had ordered the secret strike whispered to one another. Their plan had failed to crush humanity. Instead, it had shown the galaxy their strength. Fear spread, but so did something else. Something they could not control, respect. On Titan's broken surface, survivors emerged from the ruins. They raised their eyes to the sky, where human ships still fought with impossible fury. In their hearts, terror mixed with pride. Humanity was no longer a child of Earth. They had become something more, something dangerous. The Shadow Fleet retreated into the dark. Leaving wreckage behind, their commanders swore revenge. But in their silence, they carried something they had not expected, fear of a species too bold to break. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Arden looked at the burning battlefield and whispered, "They wanted us to kneel, but we stood. Let them come again. We'll be ready." And far above, in the endless black, the council prepared for the vote. But no matter what they decided, the truth could not be undone. Humanity had bled, but humanity had also fought. The galaxy had seen it, and the galaxy would never forget. The council chamber had never been so divided. The attack on Titan had changed everything. The galaxy had seen human warships leap into the void, breaking laws of physics and tearing apart fleets with reckless speed. Some envoys watched in awe, others in terror. Humanity was no longer a question. They were now a storm. Evelyn Cross stood at the center of it all. The images of Titan's ruins still glowed on the hollow screens. The cries of survivors echoed in the chamber like ghosts. She raised her voice sharp and steady. "We did not start this war, but we will end it if forced. Attack us again. And humanity will bring the fire to your own stars. Her words hung in the air like a blade. The council erupted, some shouted for her execution. Others demanded an alliance. The speaker struck the floor with his crystal staff, the sound splitting the noise. The council must choose, he said, alliance or extermination from the outer circle. A reptilian warlord hissed, "They are too dangerous. Their invention will destroy us all. They cannot be trusted." His claws scraped against the stone, sparks flying. "Strike now, before they grow stronger," a voice answered from the opposite side, soft but piercing. And yet did they not stand against overwhelming force? Did they not defend their people even as their world burned? The speaker was a winged envoy whose feathers shimmered like ice. "I say they are reckless, yes, but they are also courageous. And in their courage I see allies, not enemies." The chamber split, factions forming like storms. One demanded the burning of Earth. The other whispered of unity. But beneath their words, one truth echoed: they all feared humanity. Far from the chamber, in the void around Titan, human warships gathered. The Valiant and Defiance floated among wreckage, their hulls scarred, their crews exhausted. On Titan's broken surface, survivors worked to rebuild shattered domes. Children carried water through the ruins. Soldiers buried their dead. Humanity had lost much, but they had not lost their will. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Arden spoke to his crew. "They think we are weak. They think we are reckless. But they will learn the truth. We are dangerous, yes. But we are dangerous because we fight when others would surrender." His words carried through the ship, and every soldier straightened their spine. Lieutenant Blake whispered to herself, "If the council chooses war, then war is what they'll get." Back in the council, the debate turned darker. In the shadows of the chamber, envoys whispered secret plans. Some pushed for assassins to strike Evelyn Cross before she could sway the vote. Others plotted to sabotage human ships, to frame them for new crimes. The galaxy's greatest hall was no longer a place of unity but a nest of daggers. The speaker sensed it, his crystal body dimming with sorrow. "If we cannot agree, then blood will decide for us," he warned. His words went unheard, lost beneath the roar of arguments. Evelyn saw it too. She stood straighter, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You fear us because we do not kneel. You fear us because we dare. You call us reckless. But it is not recklessness, it is hunger. Hunger for life, for survival, for the stars. You can burn us, but you will never break us." For a moment silence fell. Her words burned brighter than the fires of Titan, and in that silence something shifted. Some envoys looked at her not with fear, but with respect. Still others hardened their gaze. The serpent warlord spat. "Respect will not close the wounds in space. Respect will not mend the scars of your drive. If they live, we all die." His voice was venom, his eyes cold. The speaker announced, "The vote will come, one last debate, one last chance. And then the galaxy will choose, on Earth." Millions watched the broadcasts. Families gathered around screens, seeing their ambassador stand alone before alien powers. Some wept, others clenched their fists. Pride burned in them, mixed with dread. For the first time, the world understood the truth. Humanity was not small anymore. Humanity was a name spoken across the stars in the ruins of Titan. Colonists lit fires under the shattered dome. They raised flags, torn and burned, symbols of survival. A child whispered to her mother, "Did we win?" The mother smiled through tears. "Not yet, but we're still here, above." In the void, alien fleets gathered, ready for war, and yet in the shadows, a different current stirred. Whispers spread of human courage, of warships that fought like predators, of a species too bold to crush. The galaxy trembled at the edge of decision. The council chamber darkened as the speaker prepared the final call: alliance or extermination, peace or war. But even as the great vote drew near, fleets moved in the black. Knives were sharpened and secrets brewed. Some wanted humanity as allies. Others wanted their ashes, and in the heart of it all, Evelyn Cross stood unflinching, her voice carrying across the chamber one last time. "Decide what you will, but know this, whether ally or enemy. Humanity will not vanish, we will not bow. We will burn bright enough that even the end of stars will remember us." The chamber shook with divided cries. The galaxy had never stood on a knife's edge so sharp. The vote was coming, and with it a future that could either unite the stars or set them on fire. The chamber of the Galactic Council fell into silence. For days, the voices of 1,000 species had clashed like storms. But now the storm had ended. The speaker, his crystalline body glowing faintly, raised his staff high. "The time has come," he said, his voice echoing like breaking glass. "The vote begins." Around the vast circle, banners of empires shimmered in the air. Each envoy stood before their sigil, ready to cast their choice. The hall trembled with tension. No one moved. But the weight of the decision pressed down on them all. Evelyn Cross stood alone in the center. Every eye was upon her, some burned with hatred, others glimmered with respect. She could hear the faint hum of her own heartbeat in her ears. Humanity's future balanced on the next few breaths. The serpent warlord rose first. His scales glowed red in the chamber light. His voice hissed like blades scraping stone. "Extermination," he declared. "The humans are too reckless, too dangerous. They tear at the fabric of space itself. They cannot be allowed to live." His banner blazed crimson as the vote was cast. Another envoy, one made of living mist, drifted forward. "Alliance," it said, its voice soft but piercing. "The humans are dangerous, yes, but so are the storms that shield our worlds. They are dangerous because they fight for life, and we will need such allies in the dark days to come." Its banner flared blue. The chamber erupted as voices rose. Some banners blazed red, others blue. With each vote, the hall grew heavier. The galaxy was splitting. Evelyn did not speak. She only watched, her eyes cold and steady. She knew this vote was not only about humanity's survival. It was about the soul of the galaxy itself. Would they choose fear or would they choose courage? Far above the chamber, fleets waited in silence. Human warships floated on high alert, their captains listening for the outcome. Alien dreadnoughts gathered like vultures, waiting for the word to strike. One vote would decide if they clashed in blood or stood together. On Earth, billions watched the transmission. Families crowded around screens, soldiers in trenches leaned closer. Children held their breath. Some prayed, others cursed. But all of humanity waited. Then the unthinkable happened. As the votes continued, a sudden flash tore through the chamber. A blast of energy ripped across the floor. Envoys screamed as smoke filled the air. Assassins had struck. Shadows moved among the chaos. Blades flashing, guns firing. The target was clear. Evelyn Cross. She dove to the ground as soldiers rushed forward. A blade slashed across her arm, but she rolled and rose again. Her voice thundered even as blood dripped down her sleeve. "So this is your justice. Not a vote, but murder." The council roared in shock. Some envoys turned their weapons on the assassins, others froze in terror. The speaker's body blazed with light. "Stop this madness," he cried. But the chamber had already descended into chaos. In the shadows, Evelyn's eyes locked onto the serpent warlord. For a heartbeat, she saw him smile. The strike had not been random, it had been planned if she died. Humanity's voice would die with her, but she refused to fall. Soldiers from her escort formed a shield around her. Driving back the attackers, alien guards joined them. Not all loyal to the plot. For the first time, human and alien blood spilled side by side in the same battle. Outside, the fleets stirred. Messages crackled through the void. "The council has fallen to fighting. Assassins in the chamber!" Weapons primed, ships shifted into formation. One wrong move and war would ignite before the vote was ever finished. Back in the chamber, the assassins lay defeated. Their bodies sprawled across the floor. Evelyn stood again, her arm bleeding but her voice unshaken. She turned in a slow circle, her eyes burning with fury. "You fear us so much you would kill in silence. But hear me now, humanity will not die in silence. If you strike us down, we will rise again, and if you burn our worlds, we will burn brighter than your suns." The envoys sat frozen. Her words cut through the smoke like fire. At last, the speaker raised his staff once more. His voice trembled with rage and sorrow. "The vote continues. One by one, banners lit red and blue. Extermination Alliance. Extermination Alliance." The numbers grew close. Each cast was a hammer against the heart of the galaxy. And then the final banner lit. The chamber gasped. The decision was made. But before the speaker could speak the result, alarms blared. The shadow fleet that had struck Titan now appeared on the council's doorstep. Dozens of alien warships dropped from Cloak. Their weapons primed, they had not come for debate. They had come for war. Panic spread. Some envoys screamed, others fled. Fleets outside rushed to intercept. Battles began in the black, explosions shaking the void. The speaker turned to Evelyn. His crystal body cracked with strain. "Human," he said. "Whether the council voted for you or against you no longer matters. The choice is now written in battle. Prove to the galaxy who you are." Evelyn's voice was calm as she raised her bloodied arm. "Then we will prove it." And as the council chamber trembled, as fleets clashed outside, as stars lit with fire, the future of humanity was no longer in the hands of words, but of war. The vote had been cast, but the galaxy might never know the result. For the war to decide humanity's place among the stars had already begun.